2024, so let's do a quick check on what we have going on here on the garage and what are the plans for this year. So here's my E30. It worked great for the last summer, so there's not really much I need to do for this car. I think it only really needs new plugs, new fuel filter. Also the tires are a little bit dry and hard already, so even though these have plenty of life in it, I think these need to go. This also has suffered some traction issues, so that's why I bought these. I only have the fronts currently, I still need to buy the rears, but these are the Toyo Proxes 888Rs, should be plenty for this car. These are Treadwear 100, so yeah, you cannot really get much better for this size. For these 16-inch rims, there's not really much options you can go for, but yeah, I think this should be fine. I know there's better tires than these, but again, for 16-inch size here in Europe, I think these are pretty much the best you can get for street tires. So that's one upgrade. I will then probably also upgrade the top hats for the shocks so that I can get more caster to make this self-steer better. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I will do for this. Well, okay, I will replace the steering wheel. I really got annoyed for this because this is the bigger version of the MTech 2. Even though it looks great now, I hate that because it's so big. I just can't steer it that well, so that needs to go. I don't know, will I get the smaller MTech steering wheel or will I go some kind of racing wheel? There's no airbag, so no problem going with the racing wheel. I just don't like the look on this car because this is so stock looking car, but let's see. So maybe only like one video about this car because there's only like a day of work to do on this one, so not much. Okay, let's move on. Petri's the one. Yeah, I still haven't done the video about this. There has been a lot of happening with this car. Currently it might look a bit weird with the blue bonnet and everything, but there's good reason for that. Petri actually got this MOT checked last summer. The roll cage and everything is now on the registration sheet, so that's great. This is basically street legal car. And yeah, the hood is this one because this doesn't has all the holes for the exhaust piping and the turbo and that kind of thing, so this was good for the MOT check, not good for the look. I think Petri will paint the hood white at some point, but let's open the hood. I think it's not attached, so I need to lift that away to see what's going on under there. So yeah, it's again without the head. It's having the annual engine rebuild. This bottom end, you haven't seen this. This is really fancy bottom end now. It has the DP pistons, ZRP connecting rods and like all the bells and whistles to handle like 1000 horsepower. And actually we are not that far away from 1000 horsepower because this already made 820 horsepower last summer for some time. Let's get to that later bit. I don't know where Petri has the slip for that. Not in the car. Yeah, you can see that this is quite race car like currently with the roll cage and the seats and everything. But anyways, I can post a picture about the slip. So yeah, it made over 800 horsepower, and Petri has also modified the rear axle. It's like maybe iteration 6 of the rear axle. So it has now positive camber and it has been really dialed in for the traction. So even with like, I think second gear, this will still hold traction. So this actually has like rocket ship like acceleration with the 800 horsepower and 1000 kilos as this E30 is. Well, close to 1000 kilos. I don't know the exact weight. The roll cage and those will add some weight. To put all that power to ground, we have the bigger Type 210 diff there with the M3 LSD, and then there's the E39 530D drive shaft. Then the transmission, it's now, you might be able to see that, it's the 53DZ, the really big one with this kind of weird adapter here. You can get versions of the 53DZ that directly fits the M50 block, but this is the much cheaper one that doesn't fit directly, so that's why there's adapter. And there's also twin disc clutch there now, so that all works really well. And I think this worked like a little bit too well with the new turbo and everything, because with all the traction, the drivetrain then can hold it and the clutch and everything. Petri got this to go on the boost much earlier than they did go on the dyno, so it did go out of the area of the maps that were tuned. It did clean out, and that caused it to melt plugs. I think a couple of valves got melted, and then the head cracked and it blew out all the coolant, that kind of stuff. So the bottom end, that could be fixed, and it's already fixed, but the head is cracked. I think there's now new head going in that needs to be worked on, so yeah. But the setup did work well, so that will stay the same. We just need to adjust the maps from the area that did not work well. Of course, we now have a log, so we know what to do and where. And yeah, I think this will also get colder plugs and everything. You might be also see some other changes, like there's now this kind of mil-spec wiring and everything that I did. Well, mil-spec. At least it has the depth cell wires and RateSem boots and everything. Also the fuel system and pretty much everything you have seen built for this car is new. There's also bigger brake boost and everything, so yeah, this really needs own video to be done at some point. I might have some potato video this working on the street, but not much else. I hope that next summer we will get better video of this working. Then my E36, well, let's leave that for the last, because there's a lot of to talk about that. The E12, it's here. Not much has happened since last video, when we lifted this up on the rotisserie. But anyways, we have done some work, like all this is now new. There's a lot of new sheet metal here. Petri has also fixed some spots here and there, so yeah, it has gotten some work done, but not much, not as much I would like to, because we have been busy with the other project. But yeah, it's on the kind of back burner currently. We will add some new sheet metal when we have time, but we are currently busy with the other project, so this will probably slow down a little bit. We have also got some really nice and rare parts for this car. So yeah, this will be a really awesome car when we get this done, but currently it will probably take a little bit more time than I would like to. But anyways, we will continue this whenever we have time. The X5 is waiting here. It has worked great. I think I have already driven like 1,000 kilometers with this. Yeah, this is this is normal that you will have to do here when it's cold like it's here now. And there's some coolant leak here from the hoses. I need to replace the hoses that are there, but not much going on with that. This is a really great car. I hope I will get the final video of this rebuild out soon. But there's so much material to edit, so that will take some time. But then the E36. It might look that there's not much done since the last video, but I have actually put like 50 hours of work for this car since last video, and still it doesn't look like much. Well, the intake is on and the wiring is mostly there. But anyways, all this job, because nothing really fits this car, it takes huge time to actually done so that it looks like stock. Like for example, this kind of vacuum hoses and everything here. These now look like these are original hoses, but nothing is original here. I have needed to mix and match parts here and there to make this all work. Well, of course I could make this work easily, but I want this to look completely stock, like nothing has been done, so that's why this takes a long time to do. But anyways, on the engine side, this is now mostly done. I just need to finalize the wiring and put on the intake side here, and then this is ready for first start. And by the way, this now also have new intake cam. It's basically same as the most aggressive Zwick cam, but it's not a Zwick cam, it's reproduction from that. I also have the exhaust cam there, but it had some manufacturing error, so that's not in there. But actually the exhaust cam that I have there, it has more duration than that one. So in practice I now have there the most aggressive intake cam there is, and the exhaust cam that has most duration that is generally available. To have more cam than those two, you would need to go with custom cams, so I really hope that this will now make that 300 horsepower. The intake cam is now quite much better than the previous one I had there, so I'm really hoping that's enough. More about that in the upcoming videos, but those cams are made by Artong Young, so if you want those cams, you can contact him. But once we get this started, the work is not over, there's still a lot of things to do. My original idea was just to swap the engine, tune it and make it like that. But yeah, when I did drive this with the stock engine, I remembered how boring this car is. Well, as boring as the 328 manual can be. Of course, that's compared to these two cars. These are not boring at all, but yeah, even with 300 horsepower, this isn't like anything special. But because of that, I decided that this needs much more than just the engine. So first of all, because the engine will be quite lazy with the 300 horsepower, with at least the modern standards, I need to make this car much lighter than it already is. So I will get rid of all the hi-fi systems, like these door guards. These are really heavy, and I don't really need this kind of hi-fi system anymore. I don't need that. I don't have time to just roll around the city and blast out some music, so that will get replaced with the stock door guards. These seats, these suck really bad. They look nice, but those are horrible to sit, and you will slide all the way around in the car with those seats. So I will replace the seat, maybe some bucket seats or something that are much lighter than these ones, because these are quite heavy. Also, I will take out all the sound dampening and that kind of things. This will look like quite stock inside, but I will make this much lighter. I've already taken most of the stuff out of the trunk and that kind of things. This will not be like bare metal car. I still want to look this like a stock car, but anyways, I will make this as light as I can easily. The exhaust is still stock on that car besides the Chinese headers, but here I have S55 headers. These are really nice headers, so I will swap these on the car. This I got from the nice subscriber, or well, he helped me to buy these because these are normally quite expensive and rare, but he managed to get these from, I think, some Lithuania or something like that, or somewhere on the Baltics really cheaply. So these will go in, and then I will make brand new big exhaust after that. So, but that will need to wait a little bit warmer weather so that I can do that on the lift. But then, one thing to make this less boring is this. I will convert this to automatic from manual. Yeah, that might sound like completely opposite from making this less boring. But anyways, this is HHP45. I think this is from M135M or something, I don't know. Behind N55. This will fit directly, or almost directly, to the M50. There's not much really needed. You only need this kind of adapter for the starter, and then this flex plate from N54 with the 8-bolt crank, like you can see it here, and then this will bolt on the M50 or well M52TU or whatever. Anyways, all the same, this will bolt directly there. And yeah, doing automatics might sound stupid thing, but these are actually really awesome gearboxes, because unlike the older automatics, these work more like automated manuals, because the converter is only really used to take off, and after that there's a clutch in here, and it will just clutch in and clutch out to change the gears. It doesn't really use the converter. So for example, when you are in the dyno, you can dyno this as a manual, because it basically works as a manual. Of course, all that can be changed in the software, and these are actually really fast to shift. These are almost as fast as the DCT gearboxes. There's only like so little difference between the shift speeds in this and the DCT, so that it doesn't really make difference. The reason why I'm swapping to this HHP is because we have quite low power NA engine. This will help make the car much faster with that kind of power that it can have, because with the so many gears, it can always keep on the best power band, and of course this will shift much faster than manual, so you won't lose anything for the shift time and that kind of thing. So this should make the car actually quite fast, even with the quite low power with today's standards that the car will have. So that's the main reason I will go with this. And of course I just always wanted to like try these modern BMW automatics in these older cars. So I think this is like the best car to try this out. I don't think this will fit my E30 or anything. Maybe like DCT, but those are so expensive nowadays that I just can't afford this. This was only like 500 euros, so not much really. You're probably also interested on what controller I will use with this. And I think the first one that came out was the HDG TCU, but yeah, that's something that I really don't want to touch. First of all, you need to take this apart, take the TCU apart from here, take that out, remove the TCU and solder some wires or PCB or something like that, and then assemble this. All that process, it doesn't look like fun thing to do, and of course it will ruin this transmission. It's not easy to go back to the stock TCU. Other thing is that those HDGs, those don't really seem to working great. I have seen horror stories with 2 gears chasing at the same time, or this transmission blowing up and that kind of thing. So yeah, I really don't want to touch those. Those seem like really unreliable solution. Other controller that you also need to take this apart and solder stuff is the Turbolamink. That seems to be much better than the HDG, but still I don't like the fact that you need to remove the original TCU from this, because that original TCU is really fancy. It can do a lot of things with correct flash, and it's also of course really safe for the transmission. You really cannot break these transmissions with the stock TCU. Unless of course you put too much power through this or something like that, but those will not have like 2 gears on at the same time and that kind of things. So to run this with the stock TCU, I have this. This is the CAN TCU from Conformance. Looks like this, and for this you really don't need to solder anything, because this will control the original TCU inside the transmission. So you really only need to run like 2 GAN buses, 12 volts ground and wake up for the transmission, and this will work. Of course you need to do some flashing to get rid of the immobilizer and everything from that. So to install this, it's much easier than the HDG or the Turbolamink. Of course, without any changes, you are stuck with the stock software that this has, but you can flash basically any maps that are available or any software that is available for this transmission, and it will work with this CAN TCU. So in that way you can get this shift much faster and well act like you want it to act. So yeah, with this you can get really reliable setup. You can, well, because it will run like stock software or can run the stock software and everything, so it will be reliable as the stock cars. Of course, if you do custom mapping, you can ruin this, but still it's not fault of the TCU, it's fault of the guy who does the mapping for the transmission. Of course, there's 2 things you will miss with this. First thing is that of course you don't have the trans brake, because the stock software, it has no ability to do that. Of course it's good to not have the 2 gears on at the same time. But anyways, second thing is that of course there's no virtual clutch, because the original TCU, it doesn't support that, so you cannot do that through the CAN bus. And yeah, I don't know if you really need that, because well, if you want clutch in your car, why not put manual for cheaper price than this? I just don't get it. Why you need clutch in your car with the automatic? I think the point of having the automatic transmission is not to need to have the clutch. So yeah, of course for drifting you need the clutch, but still why not go with the traditional manual like the 37 digit, these are cheap, and then there's those more beefy 53 digits than the E30 has, Petris E30 has. So those can handle beating in the drifting. And of course, if you are professional, you might want more beefier transmission than those. But then if you are professional, you really need dog box in your car for drifting, not automatic. You can freely disagree with me on the comments, so that's good for the YouTube algorithm and everything. But anyways, that's plans for this year. So yeah, you will probably most likely see videos me working with the E36, with the engine, with the transmission stuff, exhaust, interior, everything. Then of course we'll have some videos doing rust fixes on the E12. For the X5, I might do manual swap during summer, so that's something that might happen. And then of course, and I hope that Petri gets his car running properly next summer, so we will have some videos with that. Of course, I need to do some kind of video before that, catching up what has happened. And yeah, not much with my E30 because it works great, and I will only do those little bit updates on that. So yeah, that's what we have coming on 2024. My E39, it's no longer here. I did sold that. Hopefully the new owner will enjoy that car as much as I did. But yeah, the X5 has now replaced that, and it's so fun car to drive that I will probably keep that for some time. I will continue working on the E36, and hopefully I will get some videos out of this car soon.